Welcome back to Sand and Shadows, the channel where prophecy meets paranoia, and where pain isn't just weakness leaving the body, it's a test of your species. Today, we're diving deep, no, deeper than the spice harvesters dare to drill, into one of the most iconic, haunting, and philosophical moments in Frank Herbert's Dune, the test of the Gom Jabbar. This isn't just a rite of passage. It's not a throwaway sci-fi gimmick. The Gom Jabbar test is a moment that cuts to the core of what Dune is really about: power, control, evolution, and what it actually means to be human. Let's begin. What's in the box? Pain. That two-line exchange is one of the most chilling moments in the Dune saga. It's iconic, it's meme-worthy, but it's also deeply misunderstood. The Gom Jabbar is not just a poison needle. The box is not just a torture device. And this scene, this test, is not just about Paul Atreides proving himself. It's about whether or not he has the right to exist. What is the Gom Jabbar? Physically, the Gom Jabbar is a slim, deadly needle laced with meta-cyanide, an extremely potent toxin. The name roughly translates to high-handed enemy, and that's not just some poetic flourish. It's a statement of philosophical intent. The Gom Jabbar represents judgment, the final verdict passed by those who claim the right to determine who is truly human. And when the Bene Gesserit say human, they don't mean it biologically. They mean it psychologically, spiritually, evolutionarily. To them, most people are still animals, driven by fear, ruled by instinct, incapable of restraint. So when someone is given the test, when they're told to place their hand in the pain box while the poisoned Gom Jabbar hovers at their neck, what's really being tested is whether they can override their animal impulse to flee. Remove your hand from the box and you die. End of story. Fail the test and you're deemed unworthy of continued existence, a threat to humanity's future. What is the origin of the test? All Bene Gesserit undergo the test of the Gom Jabbar. It is one of their earliest and most sacred rites. The idea originated centuries ago as part of their larger agenda, controlling human evolution. Through selective breeding, psychological conditioning, and extreme bodily discipline, the Bene Gesserit seek to guide humanity away from chaos and back towards stability. Why? Because the Dune universe is haunted by its past, in particular by the Butler Jihad, a cataclysmic war in which humanity rose up against its own AI overlords, machines that thought, reasoned, and ultimately enslaved their makers. After that war, thinking machines were banned. Forever. Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind. But the fear remained. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself by handing over its destiny to inhuman logic. So the Bene Gesserit decided the best defense against a return to that nightmare is to control who gets power and how they wield it. Thus, the Gom Jabbar, a psychological filter, a crucible, the line between human and animal. How Paul survived the Gom Jabbar. Now, here's where things get interesting and dangerous. Men rarely take the test. The Bene Gesserit are a sisterhood, and they've been intentionally breeding toward a goal for generations, the creation of the heir. This figure, this super being, would be male, a genetic anomaly able to see into both the male and female lines of prescience, a power the Bene Gesserit themselves cannot access. Through careful pairings, manipulated bloodlines, and the use of spice to heighten awareness, they were closing in on this genetic unicorn. Jessica, Paul's mother, was supposed to birth a daughter. That daughter would marry Harkonnen, finally healing the ancient feud between houses Atreides and Harkonnen and producing the heir in the next generation. But Jessica disobeyed. Out of love, or loyalty, or intuition. She gave Leto a son. That's why Paul is such a problem. He wasn't scheduled. He's not the expected result of the Bene Gesserit plan. So the test Gaius Helen Mohim gives him is not routine. It's not a formality. It's a real possibility of execution. Because if Paul lacks the control of the Bene Gesserit demand, if he breaks, he's not just a failed candidate. He's a threat to the entire species. An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg. This is the heart of the test. The Reverend Mother tells Paul that an animal responds to pain instinctively. It flees, it fights, it gnaws off its leg. A human, by contrast, endures, assesses, waits, controls themselves. A human can act in spite of pain. This is more than just philosophy. It's evolutionary strategy. The Bene Gesserit are asking, can this individual, when exposed to fear, choose to behave rationally? Can they put long-term goals above short-term pain? Because those who can't will, in the Bene Gesserit's eyes, eventually bring ruin to themselves or to civilization. Of course, Paul passes, but he doesn't just pass. He unnerves the Reverend Mother, because not only does he resist pain, he remains aware, calculating. After the test, Mohim says she's never seen such a response from a male. She's rattled. Because Paul isn't just human. He might be something else entirely. Something beyond what the Bene Gesserit intended. Something they can't control. A test with real consequences. This wasn't a bluff. If Paul had failed, he would have been killed on the spot. And the test's lethality is confirmed in Children of Dune when we learn that failure is always fatal. The Gom Jabbar is not a metaphor. It's an execution tool. This brutal reality shows the stakes of the Bene Gesserit's ideology. They believe in hard choices, ruthless discipline. If someone lacks the necessary self-control, better to remove them early, before they become tyrants, fanatics, or chaos incarnate. Ironically, despite passing, Paul does become a kind of chaos bringer. His future jihad kills billions. His prescience locks humanity into a fate that others struggle to escape. Which raises the question, did the test really work? Or was it always flawed? The philosophical paradox. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The Gom Jabbar test is effective at testing discipline, but it cannot predict morality. Paul endures the test. He proves his humanity by the Bene Gesserit definition. But he goes on to become a god emperor, a prophet of war, a messianic figure who reshapes the universe, not always for the better. The Bene Gesserit hoped to guide evolution with careful planning, but the arrival of Paul and later his son, Leto II, completely shatter their control. In the end, the Gom Jabbar test is not a safeguard against tyranny. It is merely a filter. It tells you who can rule, not who should. The Gom Jabbar scene isn't just a great piece of tension. It's a thesis statement for the Dune universe. It asks, what makes us human? Is it our biology, our choices, our ability to override instinct? And who gets to decide? It also introduces us to the terrifying reality that in this world, survival is not enough. You must earn your place, prove your value, and even then, even if you pass the test, you might still become the monster. Because in Dune, power doesn't corrupt, it reveals. If you liked this breakdown, don't forget to sub to Sand and Shadows, the channel where even pain has a purpose. Smash the like button like you're resisting a nerve induction box, and comment below. Would you pass the Gom Jabbar test? Until next time, the spice must flow.